I started my career in 2012 with Android. How many Android engineers we have here? Can you raise your hands? People connected to Android? Yeah, people who know what Android is. And how many people in here know about Flutter? Surprisingly, but cool. I'm really happy to see that. So I was Android. Android was not that fancy, and many things to do were pretty hard. It's like views, XMLs, all the lifecycle management, all the stuff was pretty bad. Then I switched to Flutter at 2018 because it was new, it was fresh, it was declarative, a bit different, of course. And I think somewhere more or less the same point of time, Foldables appeared, like on the global stage. No, don't share that yet. So foldable devices. As a person who had only one screen on the device, I was really interested what the hell is that and how to work with that, because lifecycle management is pretty bad and like everything will work in almost like that, not out of the box. So to make it right, you needed to tweak it, to handle it, and to spend a lot of time. Though I haven't had any foldable till recent times. Like probably a year ago, nice company gave it to me and said like, yeah, it's yours. I was like happy to try, and at the same point of time, we were developing multimedia application. I was like, cool, so can I watch any videos on my foldable? Of course I can, and it's much easier to watch it in unfolded state. So let me unlock my device. Now I can do that. Let's see what actually Netflix can offer us. That's unfolded state, which is kind of tablet, right? Nothing special, Vadym, it's me. Let's try to watch anything. Berlin, anything, whatever. Something not harmful. Full screen mode is pretty clear. Do they have DRM? Yeah, they do have DRM, so sadly you won't see it. But I was mostly surprised how it will behave in different states. Sadly, I won't be able to share that. Maybe YouTube doesn't have that, so no Netflix. YouTube. And for the sake of this presentation, because I will be folding and unfolding it, sorry, I will need to do this stuff. La la la. Let's do this thing. Yeah, you can see at least the screen. It's unfolded side, right? Now we want to fold it as a book. Yeah, something happened. So it's at least nicely placed, video on top, controls at the bottom. Then as a book, it's still the same unfolded state. And you know probably how it looked like on the regular screen in portrait and landscape, so I'm not going to show that. Cool, works for me. Let's try to close this one. So, Flutter. These were most probably Android applications, YouTube and Netflix. I was like, what Flutter can offer? I will probably step ahead until I will be bending and unbending because looks like it's changing the scale, or I will probably just do this as much as I can. Now, wait a sec. Looks fine to me. Yeah, it's fine. So, I decided to make a Flutter demo. That's my Flutter demo, pretty standard video, no DRM protected, lovely. Let's fold the device. The window resizing actually makes me crazy, but you can see that tabletop mode doesn't change anything by default. Book mode doesn't change anything, so it's still the same full screen. And a closed and open, or like completely closed in landscape and portrait will be standard, so what we would expect to see. Is that what we want? Because tabletop is actually the most comfy mode to see, to watch anything like. You can just place it on the table and watch the video, but it doesn't work by default. As an Android engineer, I decided to make it right. So let's start our presentation just here. Flutter on foldables and how hard it could be. I try not to touch this one. I have a spoiler for you, but I'm not going to spoil anything. It could be both ways. hard and not really. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Vadym Pinchuk. I came here from London yesterday at midnight, so probably a bit tired. If my English is not really right, sorry for that. I'm GD for Flutter and Dart, working with Sky, but they are not sponsoring me. That's why I have my own company somewhere. You can scan this QR code. There are contact information and other stuff. And also one interesting presentation I gave about Flutter on TV. I mean, that presentation was also made on TV, means application. So you can scan it, copy it, run it. That's it. Started my career, as I said, in 2012, and so far it's like 14 years plus, but it doesn't matter, because everything changes so fast. So, besides the stuff that I want to run it Flutter and I want to make it foldable, Android 17 also announces changes. They require applications not to be locked in any state, portrait or landscape, or they require applications to be adaptive to the screens. Means transitioning from a small screen to the bigger screen. That's a requirement. You can read a bit more about that in this article because I'm not presenting Android here. But it is a requirement, and I think for Instagram it will be an issue because they are not doing very good in that. Because this is Android device. So far I haven't seen any iOS devices, foldables, right? But rumors has it that Apple will release some foldable iPhone. Let's see. But so far we are dealing with Android. As Android engineer in my past, I can check what Android can offer. And honestly, Android can offer quite a lot. Right now, all the life cycle stuff handling is much easier. You can see that all the fold information you can find in the window info tracker. Actually, it's like a Jetpack library, but to be honest, all the responsive and all the reactive programming was not available in 2012, so it's kind of thing from 2018. And the first reactive thing was RxJava and then Jetpack and stuff. So what we can get here, as you can see, we can get a fold. Fold is actually the thing in the middle. It can be hinge. Hinge is not transparent, it's a physical thing, and fold is a foldable screen. In my case, I'm lucky because I have a foldable screen, and if people are not lucky, they have a hinge in the middle, which is physical, so we need definitely to count it. What we can get in? We can get a state of this fold. So is it completely open, or if it is half open? I don't want to bend it because it will shift the presentation. Also, we can get the whole screen boundaries in this code sample, you can see. And if we are brave enough, we can get, what do you do? Oh my God, sorry for that, guys. I don't need to turn it around. And also we can get a sensor, like a row hinge angle. So is it like from 0 to 75 to 180? But this thing is it's not deprecated yet, but it's undesired to use it because the old stuff we can really get, or the whole thing we really need, is hidden in fold.state. I will show a bit later what kind of stuff we get there. But if you're brave and if you really need it, you can get the angle from a row service. That's not the way Android does it nowadays. And of course, orientation, portrait, and landscape, because even in unfolded state, devices have portrait and landscape orientation. Kind of enough information. And I have information, I have a line here which says state plus orientation equal posture. I mean, arrow posture, whatever. Why it is so? Because as I shown you in YouTube, they definitely change the UI when it is half opened, so state is half opened, and orientation is, I don't know, it's landscape or portrait, like if it is turned around in tabletop mode. So that's very important. At least they have few states. So it's completely closed, landscape or portrait. It's 2 states already. They have completely opened, and they have book well, tabletop mode, so at least 4 states. But I want to make it nicer, or I want to make it my own way. Of course, we need to not forget about stuff in the manifest, so our application to be resizable and our activity not to be destroyed when configuration change. Because transition from the front screen to the unfolded screen is the configuration change in this case, so please don't forget that. And as mentioned before, we have fold. It's going to be or physical hinge, or it's going to be foldable, like soft screen. And we also have window boundaries, the whole screen size. Depending on if it is hinge, we need to remove a bit like pixels, because hinge takes the physical space, so we can't show anything on it. In this way, we can actually define the sizes for both screens. That's what we can do in Android. And now I have some bad news for you. Morty messes up. That's what it says. Bad news are Android, it has physical access to all the hinge APIs. Flutter, on the other side, it just draws the stuff on two-dimensional canvas. So if you are familiar, yeah, we have more Flutter people. It runs the main activity, and in that it has the canvas, and Flutter just draws all the widgets, not using any native APIs. So that's a bad thing, because we can't really get access to the APIs directly. That's why we are making our own APIs. For the sake of this presentation and for the sake of my example, I made a pigeon. And I want to use all the things we can get from the API. So row hinge angle, we want also feature state. As I said, it is half opened, or if it is flat, or if it is closed. When closed, I mean portrait or landscape. And also we have orientation, of course, portrait or landscape, and the posture. So I'm trying to collect as much information as possible from the row APIs and send it to the Flutter side. Super easy. We have a consumer, returning back. Of course, we have a Flutter API to send it to the Flutter side. And this Flutter API will be triggered as soon as any of this stuff is changed. On the Flutter side, it's pretty easy. We have view model or whatever you want, which is extending change notifier and notifying on every configuration change. But for that, we need also to subscribe for it. So setting up with this change notifier and notifying to the Flutter side. Long story short, physical device gives all the information from all the sensors, triggers API and says like, hey, that's your data. This data is packed in one class. This class is sent to Flutter side. And if there's someone subscribed to it, we are getting this data. And these are my 5 posture types, because I decided not to deal with just 4 standard ones. I also wanted to have a specific book posture. It's like when it is kind of half folded, but vertical. So it's book posture. We have also tabletop. Please don't rotate. And we also have completely open. That's my case right now. And closed and open. So just for you to know, we have 5 postures in here. Let me explain. It's not that much. As I said, we have few states for fold. It could be flat or half opened, or in other case, it's closed. It means we are not speaking about fold is available on this screen only, not on this screen. If fold is 0 or null, it means we are on the main screen. So it's like closed. Then we, of course, checking the orientation of the hinge if it is there, and checking the orientation of the device to understand if it is closed landscape or portrait. That's how I decide different 5 postures on my side. And we can clearly see it here. Oh, probably I'm not going to fold it, maybe just for the sake of presentation. That's all the postures I've collected from my device. As you can see, I'm doing that every 5 degrees, because it's going to be too much noise if I'll do it at every degree. Right now, we are in completely open landscape flat posture. Let me try to ban it and open. And of course, it doesn't redraw itself somehow. So my bending happened from 175, like somewhere from here, from the topmost. That's how I changed the posture, because I was bending the device. And it was already in the posture book. So this is already a book posture, because I defined this way. Let me open and close again. Right now, we're in a book posture, which means we can probably try our video. I'm going to enable my custom pigeon to be applied to the video, and let's return to demo. That's the video. I'm going to play it. I'm going to bend my book posture. It works. So I wanted it to be like that. I wanted video to be on the left and probably on the right to be like chat on YouTube, for example. Then, of course, completely open, super easy. Then book posture, and now tabletop posture. Meow. We don't have hinge, but I added one line here to see that we are folding here, 1 pixel. And of course, yeah, this is completely open right now. So it works, but of course I need to close it and open again for the sake of taking the full screen. It works. Let's return back to the presentation. It works, I'm happy, yes, it works, and probably it actually gives all the stuff I need in my project, but we also have good news. We fixed everything. Every story starts with bad news. But good news are, we don't really need to do that. Because I've started my thing, I've approached my thing as Android engineer in the past, and I knew that it's Android device, so it definitely has Android APIs. But I never thought about it as a Flutter person. And the cool thing, we have all the stuff in media query. You know media query is a inherited widget which provides all the data so you can access it from anywhere where context is. And media query has a lot of data. So for the sake of being effective or efficient, we don't need to do the media query of context. We are taking media query display features of context. And this is exactly about fold or hinge. And of course, for this screen, we won't get anything, because this screen, yeah, it doesn't have any features, sadly. But the internal screen has a fold, and it's not a hinge. Fold is a flexible screen, just to remind you. Also, we can get the size of the screen. We can get all the orientation. You know that. Though we can't get access to the hinge itself. So the raw angle is not available because, as I said, it's not a preferable way of doing things. Not in Android, neither in Android, not in Flutter. So if you don't really need the angle, you can skip the bridge I built before completely. Of course, Flutter team, kudos to them. They are doing a lot of work. They built everything in. They hidden all the stuff. I mean, this method is called inside of the same native callback, inside of the same lifecycle scope, of, and so on, so on, so on. So they're providing all the information we need inside of the Flutter view. So we don't really need to write anything. And on top, you can see all the data we are getting from our device features. So it is fold, it's not hinge. It's posture flat because it is flat. I will try to half open it. Now it's half opened. We have all the sizes for left and right parts of the screen. And yeah, if I will rotate, it will change the numbers a bit because they will shift, because orientation will shift it. So I'm not going to do that, not to resize the screen again. So how to get all this information? Pretty simple. Media query, display features of context. Then we're checking if it is fold or hinge, because there are also other display features like, I don't know, display feature for iPhones where this island on top, I don't remember how it's called. It's like custom thing. Then size, you know how to get size, just to highlight all the codes. Size is pretty simple. Then no hinge, of course, I hope you don't need it, or no angle, and orientation, pretty simple. So media query is a beast we need here, but please don't use the whole beast because it has much more than just these three things. How do I handle my posture here? The first one, it's a bit higher. The first one is actually whenever we are closed. So means whenever we don't have any fold, we are going just to close landscape or portrait. Then we are checking if it is fold or hinge, right? And if there are nothing, that's where we are actually saying that it is portrait or landscape here. And then, sorry for that. And when it is posture flat, means completely opened. And when it is half opened, we are checking if it is vertical or horizontal for tabletop or book. That's pretty it. Like completely open, we don't care because it's like a tablet, little tablet here. Doesn't matter what orientation it has. Kind of neat, I would say. Just a little bit of code, and you can hide all this information in a view model and just use it from there. Or listen for posture from your view model can be changed notifier to notify whenever posture changes. There are also some edge cases. I have pretty simple, nice foldable device. You probably saw already 3 or 4 screen foldable devices. Like, I don't know, like a map, like a physical map. They have not 1, but 2 or 3 folds. Folds, I mean, physical hinges on this side, but fold is a flexible area on the inside. So that's a different problem to solve. It's here. How to solve it? We will have few folds, and we will need to tackle them somehow and understand what kind of posture we are at. Maybe it will be something else, like not just book or not just a tabletop. It will be, I don't know, map, whatever. And of course, you probably saw the feature that you can enable both screens, internal and external. I don't know how many cases or use cases we have, like photo, to take a picture with this camera, yeah, that's definitely useful, or to take a picture of the kid to show some cartoon here, so to keep them entertained. I saw that recently and I was surprised. So that's at least 2 use cases. I thought a bit about game, for example, when you have a tabletop. I'm not going to turn it around, so it's half opened. So we can have one player screen on the inside and another player screen on the outside, like battleships or something. Could be interesting. Is it worth it because we are draining battery for both screens? I don't know, but that's just an edge case. Just an edge case. Sorry. So what we actually learned here. Everything is powered by Window Info Tracker or Jetpack WindowManager. And the only thing we need to know is folding feature. So is it fold, is it hinge, or is it nothing? If it's nothing, we don't really need to care about it. If it is fold, it's flexible. If it is hinge, it's physical, so we need to care about 2 separate screens. We can create Flutter API, like a pigeon, to deliver all the data we want from the raw sensors and from Android side, if we really need to, but I would say we don't. We can do pretty neat window or view model with which extends change notifier to reactively, which is important, reactively update the screen on our side. And of course, because Android 17 is coming, we really need to do that. Activity should be resizable and effectively be reconfigured, not to be recreated for on each configuration change, like folding and unfolding. And the good thing we learned today, we don't really need to do any native stuff because we already have it. I'm going to ask again, how many of you learned or how many of you developed for native Android? Raise your hands. A bit more now, 4. It was 3 before. And on the Flutter side, like how many Flutter developers? Yeah, still the same. Okay, so good for you. You don't need to do any Kotlin. Though with AI, you don't really need to care about that much because AI is doing more or less boilerplate things. And then this, I want to say thank you and feel free to ask any questions. I mean, any. I'm here to answer all of them.
Thank you very much. One thing I forgot to say, you can ask the questions in the Slido. Or
that's cool. Yeah, because I was lazy
there.
to create my own Slido. Please ask your questions at Slido. If you are not really willing to ask them by voice, I can answer them. Or you can find me after. Or you can find me answer and ask in person. That's completely fine. I will be roaming around. And also, you can switch off, please. Turn off the screen. Switch to my presentation. Drop me here.
Okay, we have some.
Oh, wow, we have.
Do you want me to read it for you?
Oh, that's actually the question. As I said, like that's an edge case. I will read it. How to draw on both front and rear displays in Flutter. That's where the edge case we need to consider. It was there was a little sample here, which I never tried how to get access to it. I'm not really sure that's a cool thing to do. Though I can assume we will need to provide different activities or different views, but that's just an assumption. In edge case, I didn't thought about yet. So besides first pattern matching with false state, I assume you then need to layout builder to have exact responsive layout. Probably I misunderstood that, but I can interpret it in a way that besides the false thing, we also need to have exact size of the layout. And also, yeah, that's pretty it. It's also in media query, and we can get exact size of the layout because on fold change, we are notifying the screen, and we are notifying Flutter, and Flutter change notifier will request rebuild. That's where we're going to get the right layout sizes. But it's like a mix of two things. Yeah, it's not just fold. Fold itself is useful, but not enough, at least for me.
Thank you very much. Do you have any other questions? I can give you the mic and you can ask.
I can also say that I will share this presentation later on my GitHub, so you can scan and later somewhere in the bottom of this personal page, we can call it, you will have access to the whole code base. I don't hide it or I don't keep it private. And you'll be able to play with it because it's just a Flutter application run on your device if you have Foldable, of course.